the life force of your bond. A power like life itself. Unseen for generations. A dyad in the force.
Hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 153. Shout out to everybody on the TikTok side. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube side. We are joined by a very special guest today. Choco, why don't you do the honors?
Yeah, someone I've wanted to do something with for a while, who's always been a voice of reason and comments and in their own videos in a world of idiocy. We have our friend the Digital Jedi here. Yeah, how you doing today?
Greetings, programs. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you let everybody know where they could find you and on social media, and just to kind of break the ice, what's your favorite Star Wars and what's your least favorite Star Wars, and will they die to a lightsaber stab?
Okay. So where can you find me? On TikTok, I am Digital Jedi. Just Digital Jedi, and on YouTube I am Digital Jedi Master. So either way you can find me. I'll be the guy with the blue lightsaber. Now, as far as my favorite Star Wars character or favorite Star Wars movie,
We'll go with movie.
Either.
Or yeah, both. Yes.
either movie, both. Okay. Favorite Star Wars movie? Not a popular opinion, but currently it's Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay.
And least favorite Star Wars movie? Kind of gotta go with Revenge of the Sith.
Wow.
Bold but foolish, my old friend. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
That is I would say.
Well, thanks for having me.
No, you're good. If I were to venture to say, I think you are the complete opposite of a lot of people. You know, with Rise of Skywalker being at the bottom,
yeah,
and Revenge being on the top. But welcome to.
I have a lot of they feel like they're contrarian opinions about Star Wars, but I'm not trying to be contrarian. It's just that there's some things that I really enjoyed about Star Wars and things that I'm not all that crazy about Star Wars, and it just so happens that it's not the popular opinion, but there's a few of us out there, a few of us like that exist. So yeah.
No, I definitely feel that. I mean, for me, the thing I love about Star Wars and all stories is the small stuff, the small moments, the singular character stuff, and their interpersonal relationships, right? So I know people that hate The Last Jedi because no lightsaber fights another lightsaber. They don't clash. And if that's what you want in the movie, then yeah, I get it. It's not going to have what you want. It has everything I want, though, so that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, and it's. I don't think it's quite contrarian to have an opinion. I know a lot of people who cherish the Rise of Skywalker. Power to them, and I know a lot of people who really, really hate The Last Jedi, and some of them are friends. But I think it's important to distinguish opinions from people, because at the end of the day, they're not spending their time or making it their personality to come down on what brings you joy, right? And this is kind of like the difference between us and them, is that, and I hate to do an us and them scenario,
right,
but we for all of their complaining and stuff, it's like you sure spend a lot of time talking about and thinking about the things that you hate. And we just want people to just listen. If you hate Disney Star Wars, would love to talk to you about pre-Disney Star Wars if you really want to talk about it, but like these people aren't talking about it, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their primary, their bread and butter, particularly the rage bait YouTubers, their bread and butter right now is well, the rage, the anger over the new stuff. It gets them the views and it makes them the money, and so that's what they're going to hyper focus on, because it's kind of you guys know this kind of content where we just, we're like, hey, that was cool. It doesn't seem to stoke up the fan base as much and get as many views, because rage sells. So
yeah, it's pretty lucrative. But I do want to start off.
That leads me to a question: is the dark side more powerful? No. Quicker, easier, more seductive. Yeah, no, I wish they would just apply the lessons of Star Wars, but yeah, I mean,
we are talking about a group that literally named themselves after the bad guy from the first from episode 1. So
this is true. The fandom menace. So
yeah. I do want to start off shouting out the chat. We have on the YouTube side Blue Eagle Gamer. It's always seemed disappointing that we never got any type of media set after episode 9 until now. I do think that they were trying to kind of like regroup and find their bearings. I think episode 9 released and then the pandemic happened, right? So I don't think any kind of big and huge plans were being made at that time. In the 2 or so years of the pandemic, they lost a lot of box office share. I think they went from 4.6 billion to 200 million, and that's through no fault of their own. I mean, like, the movie's closed. But the year that they came back, they went back to like 900 million and then 2 billion adjusted. I find it funny that even the year that the movies closed, The Rise of Skywalker was their highest grossing film, like for like half of the year that it was on. But I think now, with the movies, with Barbie, with Oppenheimer, I think the movies are starting to feel good. They were able to get projects to people's living rooms, comfortably with Disney Plus, and so the movies are coming back, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Choco?
Yeah. No, lots of movie news makes me super excited. But something we were talking about a little bit earlier that I'd love to hear from Mark now, having Rise of Skywalker be your favorite. What is your pitch, or what do you think is going to happen with the upcoming Rey movie? What do you think it's going to be about? Overall thoughts.
So I really wanted them to do more Rey stuff. Like, I didn't care if it was a movie, a TV show. I would have even accepted a cartoon, though. I prefer the live action stuff. But I was really happy to see that they're bringing Rey back and actually committing, to at least a series of films, at least as far as I understand. So I'm really excited about that. As far as what I think the films will do, I think they're going to... I think something that Star Wars has been very good at since the Disney purchase. Now, whether you think that's a good thing or not is something to debate. Is a matter of opinion, personal opinion. But I think that it's going to subvert it. They're good at subverting expectations. I don't think it's going to be what any of us think it is. There's a few of us that may guess more or less exactly right, but I think whatever the overarching narrative is going to be, the overarching speculation of what that film is going to do, I think it's going to completely subvert all of that. And part of what makes a lot of people angry about Star Wars these days is that it did not meet the personal headcanon that they had in mind for a given story. So it's going to be very interesting. But I do know, I will say this, on the one hand, I do kind of regret that I didn't get to see Luke build the Jedi back up. I didn't get to see that process. I only found out about it after we found out it didn't go well. However, I accept this, that now we'll get to see the Jedi be rebuilt with someone who I actually like a lot. So I'm actually looking forward, and I have no idea what to expect, how they'll go about structuring this story, because it's a free-for-all now. It could be anything. They could go in any direction, and it's just, I think that's part of the reason why I'm enjoying Star Wars these days, is because now I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, that's the most exciting thing for me as well. You know, like when the High Republic dropped, and you know, we've been making lore videos, and people like, well, what's gonna happen? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that was the excitement for me going into the sequels too, because like you know, a lot of people kind of underestimate the magnitude of a goal that the sequels had to achieve. You know, George Lucas innovated with the original trilogy. You know, he was telling a new story, and a lot of people underestimate how the prequels just had to tell a story that led up to that. You know, they kind of had that roadmap to Vader. So it's like, okay, how do we start this story, and then how do we connect the dots from there? Whereas the sequels, they're starting off, they have a great start 30 years from, but there's no like episode 10 to connect to. And so now trying to remove themselselves from the Skywalker saga, but also keeping things open to the point where, like, I don't even think this is episode 10. I think it's just New Jedi Order, right? And so it's just kind of creating a interconnected universe, kind of like the MCU has done, what the kaiju verse is doing now with, they're not even numbered films at the moment. They're just Godzilla, and then there's Godzilla King, and then there's Godzilla X King Kong, and now it's, you know, they're just making movies that extend the story further and further, you know?
Yeah, I think without the Skywalker saga moniker, I mean, I do think that it's going to hurt it in the box office, but overall, I think this is the best choice for Star Wars moving forward. And I wouldn't be opposed if, I mean, in my mind and in my heart, this isn't actually going to be Rey's movie. It's going to be about the next generation of Jedi that are growing up, and Rey's going to be their master. But that's more or less what I want to see.
Let me do a little test here really quickly, because I do want to, for science sake. Digital Jedi Master, can you say potato?
Can I say potato?
Yeah, that's about an 8 seconds delay. Do we have another test? Raise your hand. Raise your left hand. Okay, so that was like 5 seconds.
Looking way around? Yeah, that's the right one.
We've dealt with this before. We can do this.
Okay.
So we have some news now, because we've been talking about New Jedi Order, and we'll have some episodes on Dawn of the Jedi in the future. But for now, we have been met with some news. This episode of Dyad and the Force is about, of course, the new announcement for Mandalorian and Grogu. with a side of Ahsoka season 2. I don't agree with how they went about that post, but hey, we got confirmation, which means everyone's theories about where the show is going to go is, up for grabs. It's up in the air. So we'll get to see where I hope we'll get to see where Baylan goes. We'll see if they recast him or not. I want your opinion. I'm just gonna call you Digi-Jedi. Jedi. On
Digi-Jedi.
Digi-Jed. Oh, I can't say it, What's your thoughts on where Ahsoka is going?
They used to call me DJ in the old days.
DJ, I want to know where you think Ahsoka is going for season 2, where Baylan is going to go, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I have theories. Usually, my theories about Star Wars are wrong, and it's like always, like almost every time. But at least I'm always trying to kind of like figure out, well, what is, because Lucasfilm is always doing something different. Favreau is always doing something different than what I expect. Probably the only thing that I saw coming was they'd find Ezra. That was pretty much a given. But where they're going with this whole, with the Mortis gods and with the, my thinking is that Baylan probably wants to do something with the Force that either attacks it or manipulates it at its source, or he's got kind of a Thanos solution in mind. Since the Force is connected to all life, that he's going to the source of or at least a conduit that accesses all this life. And maybe he's going to do a final solution-y type thingy like Thanos did and bring an end to all this conflict that's constantly happening in the galaxy. Because again, the franchise is called Star Wars. So, it means that there's going to be, the fighting is just inherent in all of this. So that's my thinking is, now I don't know what they're going to do with and forgive me, I forget Baylan, the actor's name, but since he's passed away,
Ray Stevenson.
I don't know how they're going to work around that, if they're going to recast or just approach it from Ray Stevenson. I don't know if they're going to approach it from a different angle and just kind of focus more on Shin, but I think that it's probably going to very much be more about getting to the origins of the Force. We're gonna do more like the episode that featured the father, the son, and the daughter. It's gonna get more into the mysticism aspect of that whole thing.
Wow.
Which is probably wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of matches up and lines up with something that Choco brought up in his theory about where Ahsoka was going to go. I had never thought about actually like the Thanos level kind of long, like big picture, but I think Choco brought up Kreia in his theory, which is essentially Thanos light with the in trying to destroy the Force.
Yeah,
it's not going to be Abeloth.
Oh Jesus! Anyways, get out. No, I love the idea of Kreia specifically because Kreia's view on the Force and people's fate is like, okay, if the Force can dictate your fate, then it's like it's a malevolent god that like forces us to do things against our will, and we need to destroy it. That type of ideology, and like, I don't know. I think that's a really cool thing. But what's I think it sounds really cool is the fact that Ray Stevenson's character talks about the ebb and flow of the Force, and that this is a cycle that keeps repeating, and that he wants to end the cycle. It would make so much sense if by the time we get to the end of Ahsoka season 2, we get the James Mangold movie, right? Because he was talking about what his words. This is his words, because we've kind of added our own thoughts and stuff to it. His words were, "I thought about a biblical epic, like a 10 Commandments and the dawning of the Force. Where did the Force come from? When did we discover it? When did we know how to use it?" And a story started developing. I wonder if we can get to that point where, Baylan reaches the wellspring of the Force, and then in that weekend we get like James Mangold movie dropping, which serves as a flashback to that scene, but tells us that entire story.
That would be
might be
fantastic.
super cool.
I would love that. If they could just nail the timing on this, where Ahsoka season 2 comes out, and then they do the whole Grogu thing, that Force healing, and then there's Force healing in the Rise of Skywalker. If they do that, and then they tease, like you said, like on the first planet that the Jedi, or the Jedi, as it were. See, Ahch-To is the first Jedi temple, but we have to think back about the dawn of the Jedi. And so, could that still be Tython? Who knows? It doesn't make sense in the current state of things, but it might be another planet. It might be a planet called Yor, just to kind of, bring things to a head. That'd be cool if they could hint at ancient history. Then that weekend of that episode,
The movie drops, and now we
Dawn
know
of the
that
Jedi
history
drops, and then Dawn of the Jedi ends its run with at the very end, like a Jedi, or the first Jedi that split with the schism, as it were. He's just looking forward. It's like, if only we could build a new Jedi Order. the Jedi Order drops next year, and then Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, and then Grogu's trying to start his own. Never mind. I'm going.
Well, so I mean, for instance, I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. live, first season. And when you were watching the first season live, the bad guys kept being ahead of the good guys, like every step of the way. And there was someone called the Clairvoyant that was like feeding the stuff. And you're like, oh, are they mystical? Do they have the ability to see the future? And then the show hit a cliffhanger and delayed a week. And that's when Winter Soldier came out. And you found out that Hydra was in charge, was running S.H.I.E.L.D. So that was a big shakeup for the show. But I don't know, it was just really cool to get that incorporation where you find out, oh no, they weren't clairvoyant. It's just Hydra in S.H.I.E.L.D. And then the rest of the show is like dealing with the fallout of that. I always think that's cool when they can time it out. It'd be difficult, but I think they could do it. Especially if both projects are things that have Dave Filoni at his new position, so his fingerprints are on them. I think it could happen.
Yeah. Silverglass says, what could they do for Baylan's arc, though? I mean, there's not much he can do in that new planet. And I wanted to ask DJ, do you think Baylan is a setup for more than just the new Jedi, the Dawn of the Jedi, and that he's a setup for the new Jedi Order, in which, going from Ahsoka, he goes off on a journey, and it takes him about, however long, 30, 40 years, and he shows up in New Jedi Order, maybe not as a Sith, but something he believes to be the truth of the Force, and it would be that version of a Sith Lord, but he wouldn't be a Sith Lord. He would just be like Palpatine, but like a new kind of Darksider. He shows up to the new Jedi Order, and it's Balin, but he's like, I'm Lord Guinevere. I don't know, something. But do you think Balin has a future outside of...
I'm a gray Jedi.
outside of his contemporary settings?
What do you think, Mike?
That's interesting. I do think that they were planning a lot more for Balin than just the Ahsoka series. That it is kind of a setup for the franchise overall that's going to have an impact. I'm kind of thinking that. Then again, I always think this, but I'm kind of thinking that everything that has been happening in Star Wars now is going to connect in some way in the future, and that Balin, the stuff in Ahsoka, the stuff going on with Mandalore, all of this stuff is going to have some sort of culmination in the end. So, yeah, I think that's entirely probable. But again, Balin being the... I'm wondering if they will replace Stevenson, considering that fantastic performance that he gave. Now he just embodied that character so well. I don't know if... I mean, it's a very new character, so people aren't it wasn't like a Chadwick Boseman thing where it's just like, no, this is Black Panther to us. It's not that kind of role, but it's still very
I still think they should
iconic
recast
and still
T'Challa.
very just his performance. He gave such gravitas to that performance. Yeah, were you on the side of recasting?
Yeah. I mean, my thing is I've seen 1,000 different Batman. I can handle two Black Panthers. You know what I mean? It's all good. True. But no, specifically with Ray Stevens, every scene he was in was electric, and it would be a shame not to continue that story. But in all honesty, I'm anticipating Shin being the person that ends him. Yeah. I mean, I think there's some really fertile ground. Fertile. I don't like using that word in this context. Well, because I was going to say, we have these 3 women who are Force users on the planet that all of these witches came from, and I'm sure that's going to play a role going forward. And then I said fertile ground, and now I feel gross.
This is something that I was kind of leading into with my rhetoric here. Blue Eagle Gamer says like Valkorion-esque character, and that's a person from the Old Republic. If you're not familiar, and it was something that I was kind of hinting at with my theory with the video that I posted a couple of months ago about Shin showing up in New Jedi Order as well, and that Balin. I didn't go so far as to say that Balin solved immortality, but that would be kind of cool if we got it in the form of Balin, and it doesn't break Plagueis's lore because it comes after, it comes after Plagueis, and they would have figured it out, and Balin in the form of Valkorion comes in later and threatens the galaxy via New Jedi Order, and Shin, much like Thexan, shows up and is like, hey, hello, old master, you I think you need to die. that's the quick and dirty, but I think that's it's kind of cool.
And rather than Balin being the one coming back in the New Jedi Order all those years later, it makes more sense that it would actually be Shin, because it'd be more likely she'd be the one still alive and active at that time.
Yeah. Cubco says on recasting, as respectful as not recasting may be, it is a decision that robs the medium of that character. If Balin can now only appear in comics or novels, it reduces the impact of the character. Rey was fantastic, but I don't want to lose that character on our screens, just like Chadwick, Black Panther. We are now not going to see T'Challa on our screens for a long, long time, and that sucks for fans. Yeah, I agree.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, like, now that Cubcos has said that, I'm now starting to realize that, yeah, we don't have T'Challa anymore, and then it's kind of like, well, that's a lot different than that's a different disrespect than a recasting. You know what I mean? And, well, of course, you know it. You're a proponent of this. But that helped me. Yeah, I agree. Time Trav says the kind of AI assisted tools that they have at their disposal now and coming over the next 2 years, they have every possibility of creating a great Ray Stevenson performance posthumously. No. No. As good as the tools will get, I am not entertaining an AI Ray Stevenson.
That would just be hugely disappointing for me personally. I just I've never seen it done to the level that I would like, and then I've seen like lately they've been like there's some new video games that have AI voice casting. It feels gross to me. Although I could see it for random people in the background. It's just not there.
Now that you mention Now that you mention it, random people in the background is a great example of how AI and deepfake has been for giving us characters. Like, the deepfake AI Luke is akin to the Mace Windu in the parade in Phantom Menace. It just don't look like him.
Okay, so like deepfake Luke is offensive to me because he got an actor who loves Luke Skywalker, who looks like Luke Skywalker, and you won't let him just be it. I feel like Star Wars shouldn't be considered that like sacrosanct that we can't have other people taking the role. You know, I love that we didn't resurrect Mon Mothma you know what I mean? Like, just be so weird. I don't know.
The best use of AI I've seen from Lucasfilm is taking Hayden Christensen's voice and modulating it to sound like James Earl Jones. That's because they didn't want to use James Earl Jones. They wanted to use Hayden speaking all the lines, but they kind of like modulated it where, you know, it had a certain degree of middle ground there where it was Hayden's voice, you know. But I just love how much of a madman George Lucas is, because George Lucas casts Hayden Christensen, right? Knowing full well that they're animals and I slaughter them like animals is going to turn into James Earl Jones. Yeah.
Which is funny to me.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because he does turn into mostly machine at that point. And I always kind of like rationalized it with like, oh, like the lava scorched his vocal cords. You know. What do you think, DJ?
So, like with respects to an AI recreation, I think it like depends. Like with most things, like right now the technology is new, and in this case, you know, when we're talking about AI, primarily what they use AI for now is just voiceovers. The deep fakes and the CGI recreations is all something else. But all of this tech is kind of in its, maybe not its infancy, but its adolescence still, and it's going to get better. They're going to keep using it. And I think the only thing that needs to be done is you need to think about when you're going to use it, why you're going to use it, and is it the best choice for the story. There's a higher bar for entry for this kind of stuff because, you know, unlike other technologies that that improved the quality of film and television, this one has a higher what's the word I'm looking for? Has a higher ethical quality to it. You know, there's like, well, how much of this person do we recreate without them? And to what degree do we get their permission or their family's permission? Is it still ethical even if we have it? All that stuff's got to be worked out. All that stuff's got to be sorted through. And, you know, businesses known for being the most ethical people in the world, but, you know, it's people like us, fans and the audience that hold their feet to the fire and temper that somewhat. So, you know, I don't think they're going to recreate Balin in CGI or a deep fake or any way else. Maybe they'll do like for a voiceover for a clip or something, maybe. But I've always looked at like this emerging tech this way. We're going to get that holodeck someday. We got the VR, we got the Oculus Rifts, we've got all the Google,
wrong franchise, dude.
The Google Cardboards, all that stuff. That's going to happen, and I know it's the wrong franchise. I'm just saying it's going to happen. We're going to have we're going to get the holograms that do the training, and it's definitely going to be a thing where we're recreating. What's going to happen is we're gonna have Star Wars. We're going to be able to interact with Star Wars like the holodeck. It's going to be a weird mashup, and then people are going to be combining the two, and Kirk and Luke are going to show up, and everything's going to be a huge, just the whole thing. But it's just a matter. Like I'm not against any of this happening. I just think as we go forward, we've got to make sure we keep checks on the companies as they use it, and make sure everybody is looking before they leap, just thinking about this before they do it, and making the best choice for a given situation.
I mean, this I don't know if this is too strong a stance or whatnot, but I'll say this straight up. I think it would be straight up disrespectful to Mark Hamill to create a fake Mark Hamill and have that be the actor. It's not him. Let's not respecting Mark Hamill because that's not him.
Yeah,
you know, like it's, and it feels gross to have like fans be the ones dictating, like, no, dance monkey, like I want to see this there, and you're like, but he's 80, and you're like, I don't care, make it happen. Like it feels like a whiny baby mentality, and I feel like it's offensive to because you also know they're not going to pay these actors for putting in a great performance. That's not them, you know. It's weird.
Just like Nedrex said, there's no scenario where
see, that's one of the things that needs to be thought through. Like, sorry, go ahead.
No, we're just dealing with the latency here. But Nedrex said there's no scenario where AI will ever be better than a good recast and makeup, and I think that's where I come down on this whole issue, is that I think AI and the deepfake tools have a place in filmmaking. It's just not in leading movies, or it's just not in like main characters in movies that are, a part of the main storytelling, the main vehicle of storytelling. Because if we need to have like a character in the background that shows up, or there's like a hollow message, like a hollow from like Obi-Wan, right? Or a hollow from Luke. They can do that, but if they're going to like interact with them, like act with him in a scene, they need to recast. I think those tools in general will their use is to make it easier for them to achieve things that they can't achieve for like small things here and there, but if they're going to be any major part of a movie, they need to be an actual actor, I believe. Go for it, DJ, if you have anything.
Well, I think that's one of the things I think that's what I mean when I say we as the audience temper how much of this should be used, because it's kind of like there are always going to be those people that are going to be like Choco was saying, dance, do we want all this? But I think the vast majority of the conversation has always been around concern, and like you were saying, Element, you were citing, well, if it's just going to be a hologram in the background, that's one thing, but if it's a main character, that's another, that's front and center in the film. And I think that's the kind of things that we need to say to the studios, and that's what I mean by tempering what they do, because left to their own devices, they pretty much would just make the whole movie if they could do it, if the technology was there, they just have the whole movie be generated by AI if it could make a coherent storyline. But they'll definitely want to go further than what from the AI public too is going to allow them to go. We're always going to be like, pull back a little bit, Yeah. Oh yeah, I read that Joker story. That was something special. But yeah, we're always going to be like when they did the CGI Leia. We said, hey, we liked that moment, but it didn't quite. There was just a little bit of a thing there that we see. We liked the moment, but we also see that the tech was maybe not quite there in terms of technology or however much time the special effects artists had to work on that moment. So we said, hey, pull back a little bit, and they pulled back and thought and did something else. And then we said, hey, that doesn't look quite right either. And so they've pulled back and did something else. And it's that give and take from the audience saying, hey, we're okay with this, we're not okay with this. Sometimes they're going to go a little too far, and we got to let them know when they do, because they're going to do it either way. We need to tell them, hey, you need to pay people for their likeness, for their work, for their effort, for their contribution. All of that stuff is stuff that we keep them in check. We may not do it. We may not have as much control over them as we'd like to, but this is the thing that we've been doing since corporations became a thing.
Yeah. All right. So let's change gears here and move on to our main topic, which is the new movie that was actually announced in that Star Wars post, Mandalorian and Grogu. Now it seems newer excuse me. It seems newer details have emerged, and that I don't know if this is substantiated or not, but whatever the case may be, there are rumblings that this is supposedly going to be season 4 of The Mandalorian, but they're fast tracking it to be a movie. Do we know anything, Choco? If there's truth to that?
The last thing that I heard was that this is in addition to season 4. I'm trying to look up the exact wording, but last time I looked up exactly what was stated officially, it led me to believe that they were separate projects.
Okay. If that's the case, we have some things to talk about. And so, like, DJ, to kind of get the conversation started, do you think that the announcement of a Mandalorian and Grogu movie is so that we get the story of them together and have that full story, and season 4 continues on this kind of ensemble Mandalorian thing that they started with season 3, right? Where it's Bo-Katan and it's Mandalorians versus the Mandalorian, and so you know, to prevent people from complaining that we don't. Oh, what happened with like with Din and Grogu when they, like, you know, retired to their cabin or whatever. And so I think the movie is this story, and then season 4 is going to continue the larger Mandalorian narrative. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking that the movie was an excuse to really do a deep dive into the whole reconstruction of Mandalore thing, and then. Although what I was thinking is that going forward, the Mandalorian would just be in this new setting that the movie sets up, rather than, you know, now featuring now being a bunch of side stories. Just, you know, now Mando is one Mandalorian, but one of significance, one of importance to their modern day history. Now we're featuring his new adventures in a setting that isn't where he's hiding anymore, where he's not hiding's not a good word for it. He's not as much of an unknown anymore. Now his reputation is more in the realms of, like, Boba Fett, except now he's more of a political figure now, even though he's still, you know, shooting and killing people. But he was central to Mandalore being retaken, being rebuilt, and so that's going to be. And another thing that I do think that they are setting up with all of this, I think this was one of the. I suspect this is one of the reasons that. One of the motivating or seeds that they've been planting since the very beginning is that they want to bring the Mandalorian Jedi concept back to the center. Maybe it'll be with Grogu, maybe it'll be with someone else, but I really do feel like they want to reconnect these two organizations in a way, in the same way that they were connected in lore, in legend with Vizsla and the Darksaber. Because we got to get a Darksaber back. I will not accept Star Wars going forward without a new Darksaber. It's just, I need that.
I want my Darksaber back. No, yeah.
I loved when the Darksaber got destroyed. That made me really happy. Sorry.
So Eliana says, "I'm sorry about capitalism." Says Mando and Grogu aren't going anywhere. Give me green space, baby. To that end, let me clarify. So the outlook that I'm kind of the picture that I'm kind of painting right now is that the Mandalorian and Grogu is the movie that we get their story of. Like Din and Grogu, kind of like it starts off in the cabin, and then they have their little, you know, adventure together, and they're still in the Mandalorian season 4, but having that movie tell the story of them together, there's more room for them to continue on with how they fit into the bigger picture of the Mandalorians in general. So, like, it's still going to be Din and Grogu, but, like, they go back to Mandalore, and then they explore the history with Bo-Katan and the armor. And we'll get those kind of side quests and side stories too, but the movie itself will be the main narrative around their duality together, or their partnership. What do you think, Choco?
Yeah, well, I mean, we also had the introduction of the Shadow Council, and so I would love to see what would have likely been part of Rangers of the New Republic, is taking them down, so that we can finally get into a place where we get a season of The Mandalorian that is akin to season one. You know, traveling to places and doing things, but you would be mixing it with a little bit of like God of War, where now he can work alongside his son, and not but if the movie's taking down the Shadow Council and we could incorporate everyone else, we can incorporate Hera, we can incorporate all these and Chopper and all these other people. I think it would make sense of why that would be deserving of a movie. Not only that, but in order to do Thrawn right, we need to see Thrawn do some bad things. We need to see him win. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's that'll probably be important going forward.
So I saw a video.
That's probably a thing that needs to happen in Ahsoka season 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a video from a good friend of the channel, Erolanis, who's going through some names that this could possibly be. Some great names, some initial ones. I do believe I have the winner, at least in my personal opinion. But what would you guys call the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? With mine being the best, mine being Bad Baby No Squeezy. Chime in whenever you have anything. Who wins in a fight, Chopper or Grogu? If Grogu doesn't fall asleep, then probably Grogu.
Grogu and the Knights of Navarro. The pirates come back, and Mando's out, and it's a Home Alone style movie of pirates, but through the city of Navarro.
Okay, Grogu and the pirates, or Pirates of the Grogubian.
I could do with that. Yeah.
Mox in TikTok says Satil Sean. You just trying to get a rise out of me, or is that your title for the movie? Because as Choco disappears to the ground.
While Choco's gone, I want to call the movie The Ghost of Babylon.
Get out!
Check this out. This is Satil Sean's hilt. And it looks so great in the camera.
It is gorgeous. And is that a NeoPixel?
It is. It's baselit. But this is from the official lightsaber for Dyad and the Force. If you guys want to check out the 2187, if you want to check out this is the Scourge. If you want to check out, I don't know, they have Jaro Tapal, they have Stellan Geos, they have a whole bunch of lightsabers. If you guys want to check it out, go to dyadandtheforce.com/lightsabers.
The Stellan Geos is gorgeous. I was so close to getting that one. Pretty soon I should get my new Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. I'm really excited about that.
Power on! And this is, of course, the Bruiser, which is used for this.
Bruising people's knuckles.
It's used for saber flow, stunting, and all that. DJ, you got lightsabers?
My lightsabers. So this is I got this in 2000. I got 10 of them from a party city because they were written off as unsellable. So I have 10 of these I got for free. And then I have this. I have Qui-Gon's lightsaber. I've had this since the Phantom Menace came out, since before it came out. They were selling it.
Nice.
I was working in the toy department at a Kmart. I don't think those things exist anymore. So I have a lot of episode 1 memorabilia, like a lot of it. I wasn't dating anyone yet, so like most of my collection is episode 1 stuff. So yeah, I have Darth Maul's lightsaber somewhere around here too, and there it is. Took the blades out, and I have a bunch of these. Jango Fett's blaster. They were also Party City ride-ons.
Oh,
but yeah,
nice.
I don't have what's the word I'm looking for? Money ever for myself. So I don't have a lot. Like I really want. Well, if I'd known about like some of the more. I didn't know about this when episode 1 came out, that there were like the high quality busts and well, maybe the props didn't really exist at that scale back then, but if it had been like it was now, I would have like some of the really well-made stuff, because I saw some stuff this last time I went to Disney World that I really wanted to get, but it was like, like $1,000 for just one lightsaber or something like that. So, but soon, one day I will have that. I'll have my own dark saber. Yes.
Well, I mean, hopefully, like when that time comes, you go to dyadandtheforce.com/lightsabers, and I mean, Master Allen has a dark saber. He has a lot of replicas. The replicas being, of course,
I also have
a
a dark saber.
Oh, okay.
We also have a dark saber.
Ooh.
I don't know why this one's beside me. But yeah, he has all kinds of replicas. He also has like a $99. He has a $99 box too that is kind of like a loot box. So you can get a lightsaber via that means. But
Okay, I love Kopkos says in there, or bring Abeloth, but dispatch her immediately. She gets one line in a monologue and then is destroyed. I'm up for that. Kelleran Beck, dual wielding, takes your head off, and they're like, "That was weird." Anyways, and then they keep talking.
Alex in TikTok says, "Hi, Element. Have you seen Doctor Who?" And it's kind of coincidence with what I'm wearing, but yeah, I have. I haven't. I'm trying to catch up with what is it? 13 after Capaldi. I'm trying to catch up with her season and catch up with the latest episodes with Ncuti. So if that's how you say his name, I might be butchering it.
I'm excited to jump in
I love
myself.
13.
Eliana in the chat says a buddy is making them a Le Soleil saber. So shout out to Young Jedi's Adventures.
Time Trav says the Mandalorian is his title.
As long as they're wearing suits, I can see it.
The Manosphere.
Alex says, "Don't watch 13. It's god awful." Hey, listen, I'm a completionist with my fandom. I'm just gonna watch it. It's okay so far. I'm like 5 episodes in. But maybe I'm just like,
Oh, I freaking love 13. I don't know what to do about.
yeah, maybe I'm just very charitable. I don't know. Never
You know
mind.
what's funny?
I went in on Rebel Moon. I'm not that charitable.
Well, that was just rough to watch, but
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it was wild. I tried.
I heard it's very Zack Snydery. That's the only thing I've really heard about it. But
I really, really wanted to like it.
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed Watchmen. I'm not a Snyder hater by any stretch of the definition of the word.
300 was the first rated R movie I saw in theaters. So
I just know.
well, I'm still surprised that I liked the. Yeah, I'm still surprised that I liked the Snyder cut. I wasn't expecting to. So yeah,
Dang, Rise of Skywalker and the Snyder cut Justice League. You have some bold opinions, sir. I respect it.
it's
See, Rebel Moon.
I do. We should have a discussion about Jar Jar one day.
For sure.
I mean, I could talk Jar Jar right now. Jar Jar did an amazing job at exactly what Jar Jar was meant to do. He succeeded 100% on everything he was designed for. And at no point while watching Jar Jar was I actively thinking, no, that's a dude under there. I think the performance also incredible. I don't think it was needed for the movie, but what he did was good.
What we got, see, that's the thing. Like, did we need a Jar Jar Binks? Probably not. But what we got was a great performance, and I'll always give I always give credit where credit is due, despite me not really seeing the need for it. Alex asks, personally, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars sequels? So The Last Jedi is my favorite movie. The Force Awakens is kind of middling for me, and The Rise of Skywalker is lower. But for lack of a more detailed review, I think like The Force Awakens was pretty safe. I feel like the Hosnian Cataclysm wasn't painted with the picture of importance that they alluded to. We got a shot of people in the balcony dying. I think the movie should have started with Leia living in Hosnian Prime.
Like if you knew Corsella, you would have been devastated.
Yeah. Or Greer Sonnel. What is that her name?
Yeah.
Greer Sonnel. Just in general, like just an establishing scene with Leia kind of like done with the politics on Hosnian Prime and going off to create her resistance. There was no connection. This is why JJ kind of like said in interviews that they thought of blowing up Coruscant, is because we have a connection with Coruscant, but we didn't have a connection with Hosnian Prime. And so like that scene, although the stakes were high and it was a planet killer, like I had no connection with it. And so the very fact that it was a planet killer and it killed a planet that I had no connection with, it didn't land with me. The Last Jedi gave me a lot to think about intrinsically. I related with Luke a lot in that movie, and so that's and just Yoda's lesson. But if you guys have any thoughts on the sequels to add on to it, jump right in.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Mark. Overall.
Yeah. I have an interesting relationship with the sequels because I enjoyed each one. Each one was my favorite Star Wars movie as they were coming out. And I feel like something that I've noticed with all movies in the last 20, 30 years is that there's how you feel when you watch the movie in the theaters. And then there's how the conversation around the movie makes you feel about the film. And something that I noticed after I had each time that I watch the sequels is that I thought I liked them a little less than I actually did once I was out of the movie theaters. But what I would find out was like someone would say something, and you know how you've seen my content, you know how I am. If somebody says something wrong, I'm going to go check the movie to see if that's, to find out the actual context of what they're saying. And I would find that when I went back to the film, I'd get caught up in the movie again. And I was just like, wait a minute, this movie is, I'm having a great time watching this. And I'd end up forgetting what I was supposed to be doing, which was research or making a YouTube video. And I'd start watching the movie all over again. And what I found is that I really did enjoy each of these films as they came out. And I think this is why this whole rage bait franchise that's going on now is hurting the films. Like, there's always going to be your personal opinion on the movie, but I think that what you feel in the movie theater and all of this noise that you hear from all around you telling you what you're actually supposed to think, even if you're self-aware of that, it still affects your opinion of the movie. You're just like, you think of this film and you're just like, man, I had a really good time, but oh, that's right, somebody said this, and it kind of puts a downer on it. So my opinion of the sequels, right, is just like, I think these were great films. Do I have some criticism about them? Yeah, I almost never talk about those because I think they're minor. Like I think the lightsaber duels could have been more prequelish. I enjoyed the episode 1 lightsaber duel above all lightsaber duels. I wish they'd been like that, but I understand why they weren't. I understand what they were trying to do. It's not a deal breaker for me, even though lightsaber duels are my favorite thing about Star Wars ever. It wasn't a deal breaker for me because the movie had other things that sucked me into them and that made me enjoy them.
Thank you, Maz's Basement, for joining the
Well,
Dyad
I will
Squad.
say this. I will say this. I think the first movie, people kind of missed the point of the callbacks.
Yeah, they did.
I think the second movie subverted so many expectations. People got caught up in the differences, and I think everybody misses the point of Canto Bight. I think the last movie, just the rage had gotten so out of control that nobody knows what the heck even happened in that movie. They think an entirely different movie took place when you quiz them on the events of that film. And in a lot of cases with The Last Jedi too. But I think all of them are some of my favorite Star Wars films. I love Rey. I do wish they'd done more with Finn. I do wish they'd done more with Rose, and I hope they do something more with her going forward. I think BB-8, he's up there with R2 for me. I loved all of it. It makes me feel good to watch those films, and I actually kind of feel bad for people who just like everything Star Wars coming out these days just makes them so angry.
Yeah, that's something to think about, moving forward. But really quickly, Choco, before you chime in, thank you for joining the Dyad Squad, Maz's Basement. Thank you for the 20 roses, CXRTTY. Just have a couple of questions to answer really quickly. Did you like the Leia space scene or Luke's change of character drastically? So the Leia space scene, I didn't particularly like the way that they did that, but I loved that scene narratively for what it represented and how it foreshadowed the bisection of the supremacy.
Yeah, that was really cool.
As far as Luke goes, and this is kind of like a combination answer for Charlie, making Luke weak and scared was a horrible idea. It wasn't a drastic change of character for Luke. Luke ended Return of the Jedi throwing his lightsaber away, refusing to fight. But he started that journey by also striking down his father for threatening his family. And what he encounters in The Last Jedi is a direct threat to his family and everyone he loves. Does he ignite his saber? Yes. But he doesn't strike down like he did in Return of the Jedi. And so the lesson that Luke learns from Yoda about always looking to the horizon, never here right in front of your nose, is when Luke finally realizes his mistake this whole time. And he ends that movie in the same way he ends Return of the Jedi. He refused to fight. Never for attack, only for knowledge and defense does a Jedi use the Force. And Luke in that movie was the most Jedi a Jedi could ever Jedi in Star Wars. And I understand that there's reservations for people who don't like that Luke, and I get it, and and I'm not going to invalidate those feelings. But to me personally, I was in a personal kind of space where I was failing, and I was in a rut, and you know, seeing Luke overcome his only really true failure in life, in the most Jedi way possible, was inspiring to me. And I say the only true failure is because he didn't actually fail anything. In the original trilogy, he lost his hand because he was ill prepared, and Darth Vader was a more competent foe. But other than that, he didn't really fail in redeeming his father, and his father.
He also
himself,
got another hand immediately at the end of the movie, and it was never an inconvenience at any point.
Yeah, and his father himself, Vader, wasn't his failure either.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at whose failure that was, Yoda and Obi-Wan, they both went into exile. And so Ben is Luke's failure. Ben is Luke's failure, and he takes it the same way that Yoda and Obi-Wan take it. So it's to call back to like, oh, he saved Vader, he shouldn't have fallen or escaped from or run away from Ben. That's because Vader wasn't his failure. Vader was his father that he wanted to get to know really badly and saw the good in. Ben was his failure, and that affected him.
Well, the thing I love about it specifically is that that's literally the whole point. And so it's, I don't know, I find an interesting relationship whenever there's a lot of criticism of the film that either didn't happen in the film, like literally at all, or it was the actual point of the film. So like when I hear, no, the legendary Luke Skywalker would never do this. You know, he was the one that saved Vader, just like you said. He saw good in Vader. Obviously saving Ben would be light work, right? That would be so much easier because of what Darth Vader has done. And you're like, that's exactly what Luke thought, and it's wrong. And that's the whole point. He saw good in Vader. He was able to turn Vader. Is it because he was such a good persuader? Because he was the negotiator? No. It was because he was his son. Like, that's literally the only relationship that could have pulled Vader from where he was his son. Obi-Wan couldn't save Vader. Ahsoka couldn't save Vader. Only Luke or potentially Leia could have.
The last spark of Padme.
The last spark of Padme. So then when you ask, well, then he should have been able to save Ben. No, the only reason he saved Vader was he was his son. That's not what happened with him and Ben. He is the person that Ben is rebelling against. Of course, he's not going to see good in Ben. And of course, he is not the person that can save Ben. And the fact that Luke thought that he was is the point. That is why he failed. The reason that the Jedi failed the Republic is because of we've protected this for 1,000 years. Sith Lords are a speciality. You know, this is going to be easy work because we've done it for so. No, that is not how you should look at it. That is not a way to protect people. That past reference means nothing in the present. That's the whole point. And that's one of the reasons I love it so much. Now, overall, I'm actually more of a prequel fan. And it's kind of funny because I think overall the prequels are the worst trilogy when it comes to filmmaking. And even when I rank them, the sequels occupy the bottom part of my ranking, but it's still the Star Wars that connected with my heart the most. Overall. Now, The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film. The Force Awakens is in the middle, and Rise of Skywalker is at the very bottom.
The Dyad in the Force.
But the thing I find is like the more hate I get for loving The Last Jedi specifically, and then I'll look into it because I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to approach anything with bad will. I'll look into what they're saying, and then the more I look into what they're saying, the more airtight it seems. I was recently had a discussion today, and so it was like, my valid criticism is that the shields should have came up on the other ships before the Holdo maneuver came, because when Hux ordered the shields to go up, and he went into the Clone Wars.
I smell profit.
Connor super chatted a $2.50 ramen drop. I just super chat all over. My sincere apologies.
Thank you, Connor.
We always appreciate you, Connor. No, I just had someone who was saying like, oh, well, in the Clone Wars arc with Admiral Trench, when he told the droids to turn the shields up, the shields came up this fast. Therefore, they should have been able to come up fast enough on the other ships. And you're like, Hux didn't say to turn the shields on at all. The reach that needs to happen for a lot of these criticisms is so great. When I look it up, it just makes me like the movie more. It's kind of funny how that works.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to append on top of Choco saying that Luke was what Ben was rebelling against, and to that end, I like to argue against people who say that Luke didn't really learn from the mistakes of the Jedi. He did. Right, because what did the last master who failed his apprentice say? I will do what I must. What does Luke say to his apprentice that he failed? I will not be the last Jedi, and he refuses to fight. And that's because there's hope in others, and you have Yoda and Obi-Wan going into exile. Obi-Wan confronting Anakin and having to have a massive fight with him, and then Luke confronting Ben and refusing to fight. But in that refusal, he gave the resistance the time to escape and to regroup and to reignite the spark of the resistance. And this is why I love that Luke. Thank you for the additional roses.
What he loved.
Thank you for the hat and mustache and the donut, CXRTY. I need to figure out how to say that.
I'll have someone be like, no, I want a Luke out there crushing walkers. And you're like, that's not Luke. Like, and there's an interesting thing in the Expanded Universe, which I'm a massive Expanded Universe fan. But there was a point where Ben asks his dad, and he's like, because Ben doesn't want to kill people at all. And he's like, isn't that wrong? And Luke's like, I've killed tons of people, but they were all, and then he thinks, he was going to say they were all bad people. And he was like, were they all bad people? Did some of them just have the misfortune of being born on this planet? Because some of them have been reached? Was he right for killing them? And then his wife Mara is like, I was on the other side. I killed a lot of people too. And that scene always kind of bugged me because it made it seem like Luke had never considered the people he killed ever, which seems weird. But No, that's why I love Luke, especially in Battlefront 2, when he's the little side mission that you're on with him, because that feels so Luke to me.
Also, just to kind of bring it full circle with Charlie saying making Luke weak and scared was a horrible idea. He wasn't weak
and scared.
He wasn't scared. He thought, and you can read this in Secrets of the Jedi, he thought he was making the right decision by removing himself and the challenge of the Jedi to the galaxy from the galaxy. It was a very strong decision to make. It was a mistake, yes. But Luke was never weak, and this is something that I want to double down on while we have a captive audience, or at least a semi-captive audience. There is no weakness in refusing to fight. Stop trying to be fighters and MMA fighters. Like you're gonna lose half the time unless you are an MMA fighter and you know how to fight. You're just gonna get yourself hurt. What's the best weapon that they say? What's the best weapon that MMA fighters say? You're the best decision in any fight. Run away.
Well, I mean, I want to quote Ryan Johnson, because Ryan Johnson directly says why Luke was in exile, which, by the way, he was only in exile for 3 years. I think people think it was a lot longer than that. But he says, I knew Luke wouldn't be there out of weakness. Like, this was an active choice for something he thought was right. Right. He wanted to remove himself from the equation and remove the Jedi from the equation because he felt that that in the long run, when you look at history, they were the cause of a lot of the issues. And he thought that the light should rise from a more deserving place. Again, he was wrong, and he learned that. And that was the whole point. Anyways, rant over, for me at least.
Shout out to Cal4 in the chat. What's going on, Cal? Friend of the channel, streaming after Dyad in the Force at twitch.tv/Cal4. Let us know in the chat what you're streaming tonight, bud. Preemptive thank you to Connor for what's eventually going to come through here in a minute.
I smell profit.
Connor super chatted at $2.50 ramen drop. Ustsos jejexos wet fart you guguxley.
Los just those look cake sauce. Nice. All right. We've stalled enough. DJ, you still haven't given us a name for a title for your Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And since we're about to wrap up this episode, give us the title and give us what you want, the number one want you want to see from this movie.
Too Fast, Two Mandos.
Oh boy. The Legend of the Mythosaur. I don't know. I thought that the title that they gave us was just a working title, that they hadn't actually named it yet. I feel like it probably is. Like, I feel like they're gonna give it's gonna be like The Mandalorian something, or unless they're planning on calling the whole franchise the whole sub franchise The Mandalorian and Grogu, and then have, like, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the Secrets of the Mythosaur. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but as far as what I want it to do, I guess my expectations are also my wants. The rebuilding of Mandalore and what that's going to involve. Something that tops even that final scene, which I thought was amazing, that climactic battle at the end of season 3, whatever, that aerial scene. Something that tops that, maybe even just a epic aerial battle, which I never thought. I've seen movies try to do that aerial battle before, and the technology just never was there. The special effects ability was just never there. And that was one of the single most amazing things I've ever seen in any media. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough. It was beautiful to me. So if we can get more stuff like that, and just more that really just subverts my expectations, because like I said before, I'm kind of a fan of that. And maybe even some kind of darksaber thing. I don't know what it is. Bring the darksaber. Give us a new one. Explain. Maybe give us some more. Oh, you know what? I know what I want. I want a little bit more. I want more backstory on the darksaber, and I want more backstory on I forget the Mandalorian Jedi's first name, but that Vizsla. I want more. I want to know why the darksaber is dark. Maybe even that. Maybe there's something awesome around why it is that way, and that's going to be a major plot point in the film. I don't know, but as you may have guessed, I'm a darksaber fan.
You look like you were about to say something, Choco.
Well, I mean, like if they return to Tatooine, and it is, I don't think it should be like the Krayt Dragon egg itself, but like it's a crystal formed by something the Krayt Dragons do, and that's what creates a darksaber. I think that would be really cool. Or if it was specifically something that like the Mythosaur does that creates it. Maybe, I don't know.
So here's my thoughts on that.
Good idea. Yeah. I
think that they're going to rebuild rebuild it using parts from the Mythosaur, but it's not going to be called
our Mythosaur emitter.
it's not going to be called the Darksaber. It's going to be called the Mythosaber. I liked it. I'm just kidding. No, I think I think something to do with the Mythosaur is definitely something that could happen.
I'm so doing fan fiction with the Mythosaber, right? For real.
Okay, well, so Beskar is already really rare, and if there's something that makes it unique, like maybe, like if you condense Beskar down beyond anything can do, that's how you get the crystal. I don't know. That's how I'm feeling. We shall see.
All right. Well,
so like the kyber crystal is actually Beskar when it's been super heated, or something like that.
Not all kyber, just specifically the Darksaber, and it just works somehow.
Interesting. But that'll bring us to the end of this episode of Dyad in the Forest. I want to thank everyone on the TikTok side. I want to thank CXRTY for all of the gifts. The Ryan. I want to thank Digital Jedi Master for joining us, and I'll shoot it over to you for your final thoughts after we thank the people on TikTok. Connor, thank you for all of the chats.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to Cal. Thank you to Nedrex. Thank you to Eliana. Thank you to Cupcos, KG, Blue Eagle Gamer, Nedrex, I say, Time Traveler, Silver Glass, and everyone else watching from the comfort of their own. I'm just thinking.
Smell profit.
Cal for a super chatted a $5 ramen drop.
Thank you, Cal, for that ramen drop. I appreciate you. I appreciate the doggo also. Choco, do you have any final words before we throw it over to DJ for his final thoughts?
No, just always fun, exciting. It's been so exciting to be a Star Wars fan. Like, there's movies in the works again. I just hope and pray that we still have Ryan Johnson's movies in the far, far distance, but we shall see.
I smell profit.
Nedrex super chatted a $1.31 ramen drop. Just wanted to hear it say chat again.
Yes, as you are wont to do. All right, let's throw it over to DJ. If you have any final thoughts, any kind of final messages you want to say to the fans out there, and once again, plug your social media so people can find you.
Oh, okay. Right. That's on TikTok. I'm the Digital Jedi, and on YouTube, I am the Digital Jedi Master. I'll be the guy with the blue lightsaber when you do a search. As far as final thoughts, I do want to say one thing briefly, going back to when we were talking about Luke and his change as he aged. This is something that I said way back when the movie came out, and I've probably posted this a bunch of places, and I say it over and over again. If you were not expecting Luke to be considerably different after 30 years, like a lot of people aren't the same person after an especially emotional episode of Riverdale. You go through changes as you get older, and your perspective on life, especially if you've had a life filled with battles and conflict, it can change the way you approach things. And all that really was different with Luke was that he made a different decision with how to approach being a Jedi going forward. But he wasn't really all that much different. He'd just been through a lot. I can relate. Yeah. And also there are a lot of women in Star Wars. And I wanted to show something that Element, you were scrolling through showing some photos earlier of women proof that there are some women in Star Wars, and I happen to have one here. I knew that my sister liked Star Wars. I did not know that she even knew who Ahsoka was. So this is her at the Galactic Cruiser at Disney World. So just throwing yet another woman in another one in the binder. Thanks for having me. Sorry about that delay. And hopefully, I hope we can do this again, and I'll work on that delay so that's not a problem next time. But even if not, really appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun, and I really like the stuff you guys do with putting positivity out there when there's so much negativity surrounding this franchise. It's nice to see that there are people who just want to have fun.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. We definitely have our dislikes, we have our complaints, we have the things we don't like. But it's so weird to cry about it for like 6 years. Like, it's so lame.
Thank you for being on with us, DJ. As far as the technical issues, it's not an issue. We'll have you back on, and we'll see if we can find a solution to that. Possibly a laptop in the future, or
okay.
We'll talk offline in terms of solutions. But we'd love to have you back on to especially have a conversation without the delay, so that we could possibly have some more in-depth conversations. But for sure, always proud of the Dyad in the Force community. Just in general, how we are able to speak our minds, criticize, and enjoy, and how we don't have to just yuck other people's yums, And so I hope that DJ, I didn't crap on the Rise of Skywalker too much, or if at all. I don't think I did. But I'm glad to see there are people out there with your viewpoint and your tastes, because I have a lot of other friends that really love the Rise of Skywalker too. But as is the case with our mission statement, we're just here to love Star Wars, whatever form that may take. But with that said, that's it. On to the next one.
For light and for life.
We are all the Dyad. Is there a delay?
And may the force be with you always.